Just to drive home what we were speaking about earlier. Since the pleasurable feelings, this is from this text, the new 8 Steps to Happiness from page 137. Since the pleasurable feelings resulting from worldly enjoyments, that's anything outside our mind, do turn into pain, it follows that they cannot be real happiness. Prolonged indulgence in eating, sport, sex, or any other ordinary enjoyment invariably leads to suffering. No matter how hard we try to find happiness in worldly pleasures, we will never succeed. Indulging in samsaric pleasures is like drinking salt water. Rather than satiating our thirst, the more we drink, the more thirsty we become. In samsara, this is our Sanskrit word meaning this state that we live in of uncontrolled suffering. In samsara, we never reach a point when we can say, now I am completely satisfied. I need nothing more. Not only is worldly pleasure not true happiness, but it also does not last. People devote their lives to acquiring possessions and social standing, and building up a home, a family, and a circle of friends. But when they die, they lose everything. All they have worked for suddenly disappears, and they enter their next life alone and empty-handed. They long to form deep and lasting friendships with others, but in samsara this is impossible. The dearest lovers will eventually be torn apart, and when they meet again in a future life, they will not recognize each other. Impermanence spares nothing and no one. In samsara, all our dreams are broken in the end. Sorry. But the point of saying this is that there's a better way. If we create our happiness within our own mind, it's never disappointing, we never lose it. So one thing that I want to say also, well actually we'll keep that for after the meditation. You won't be able to meditate now thinking about what I'm going to say. So anyway, sit in good meditation posture. Imagine that all your unpleasant feelings and the objects that create these unpleasant feelings, they all appear inside you in the form of black smoke. And not just the unpleasant experiences we have, but images of all the causes of these unpleasant feelings. They all appear inside you at the level of your heart in the form of black smoke. Everything that you find unpleasant, nothing remains. So there's this cloud of thick black smoke inside of you. And you imagine you're seeing this, and you're thinking, this is everything that's preventing me from finding real peace and happiness. I cannot bear to continue like this. I must free myself. So as you breathe out, imagine that you're breathing away some of the black smoke. Each time you breathe out, some of the black smoke will disappear. As it leaves your body, it vanishes far away into empty space. And you realize just by breathing out, eventually you'll be free of all this dark negativity. And then as you breathe in, imagine you breathing in beautiful white light. This light, as you breathe it in, gradually fills your whole body, from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. It purifies your mind, removes all the obstructions, gives you positive inspirations, turning your mind from negative to positive. So just by using your breath like this, breathing away all negative, dark aspects of your mind, breathing in this white light, it's giving you so much positive energy and inspiration and confidence. So now just take another 4 or 5 breaths to breathe away the last of any remaining black smoke, and fill your whole body and mind with this beautiful white light. And now feel that everything, all this darkness and negativity in your own mind has gone. Your mind is completely clear, pure, inspired, confident. And with this mind, you can now just relax your concentration and arise from meditation. So what's the biggest thing? If we're really searching for happiness and peace, what's the biggest thing, the most important thing that we need to let go of? Ourself. Our notion and image of ourself that we've been building up since we were toddlers. You know, I am this, I am that. You know, I have done this, I have done that. I have this, I have that. This is who I am. So we create our image of ourselves, and then we think this is a fixed image. This is a fixed being. This is just who I am. You ever say that to yourself? It's just who I am. Yeah. I'm against this, just who I am. Yeah. What have I told you? That self that you cling to, that you really hold on to very tightly, that image of yourself, you don't exist. If you existed in that way, if this was a really true existing being that you've created over time with your own thoughts and mind and interactions with other people and other places and other enjoyments, if that person really existed, everyone would be able to see you the way you would think you exist, wouldn't they? So if you imagine that everyone in this room is thinking about you, which we probably do anyway. If everyone in this room was thinking about you, in your name. And I just said, think about this person whose name it is. They would all have the same image of you that you have of yourself, wouldn't they? But that's not going to happen, you know that? Because they all have different images then. If everyone is thinking about you, they all have, so there must be about 35 different images of you in this room, right in this moment. And goodness knows how many others there are out there. So which is the really true one? Is there any one that is really true? More so than any other? Yes, no. You think it's the one that you have. Only you can know the real you.
I don't understand.
I know, no. Nobody can know you the way you know yourself. But the thing is, they're all valid. They're all valid. So you're beginning to realize there's no you that exists other than the thought of you. The thought of you that you have and the thought of you that everyone else has. And they're all different. So where's the real you? It doesn't exist. And if you realize there's no you out there, separate from your mind or separate from other people's mind, you begin to realize that all you are is a thought, an image in your own mind or an image in anyone else's mind, and nothing else. Nothing else. Ooh. So, this applies also when you're thinking about someone else. The way they exist for you is simply as a thought. If you were to search for the other person, I've got to go and find them. They don't exist. I remember when I was in my late teens or early, I got a mind of deep attachment to some person. And there was this kind of break-up, and they were leaving and flying away. So I thought, well, if I go down to the airport, which was in London, or so I thought, then I'll be able to see them, and maybe they won't go, we won't fly away. So I threw myself on a train down to London, and overnight, and just got to the airport, and couldn't see them or find them, and just so desolate, and came back and found that they'd gone from a different airport. So the whole thing was just an imagination. Yeah, but it caused so much heartache that, all because I'm thinking this is a real person, and the real person exists in exactly the way in which I think about them, none of which is true. But it's taken countless years to realize this, and countless heartaches as well. And so all of this is arising from this mind of attachment that comes from this idea of we grasp at a self as truly existent. And, in that moment I think, I must have the love of my life, and otherwise I'm never going to be happy, Just a big mistake, a big mistake. So and this applies to everything that we cling on to. The jobs, the places, the homes, the the past experiences that we have, the future experiences that we'd like to have. We're kind of always, creating our own drama, our own movie, if you like, of what our world needs to be like in order to find real happiness. And it's always to do with the external things. Yeah, I must, live in a particular place, go to a pub, a particular vacation, and so on. Otherwise, I'm not going to be happy. And none of that is true, because none of these things can be a true source of happiness. A, because they are impermanent, and B, they don't really exist other than the way you think about them. Like when we're talking about the example, when we're on this beautiful beach in the Bahamas, having this wonderful vacation, and suddenly our mind changes, our mind develops a mind of anger, and then the whole scenario changes. We need to realize that everything is coming from our own mind. The way we experience our world is nothing more than coming from our own mind. There is no there, out there. Everything is from here. Everything is just an appearance. Just an appearance. That appearance exists. I'm not saying there's nobody here. I'm not saying this room is empty of people. But when we check, when we investigate, we don't find anything substantial. We just find lots of names. So like we can do a little experiment quite easily. You have an image of yourself. If that image truly existed separately from everything else, you would be able to find it. If that person really existed completely separate from everything else, you'd be able to find it, and you'd be able to point to it and say, this is me. This is who I am. So we can conduct this little experiment. If you just bear with me, try pointing to yourself. Go on. Don't be shy. You can let go of shyness in here and become the person that was your real potential, to be this amazing, extraordinary mind of love and compassion. So, if you try and point to yourself, we do something like this normally, but this is my chest. Am I saying I am my chest? No, chest. My chest is part of my body, but it's not who I am. Where am I then? Head, shoulders, inner organs, torso, heart, inner lungs. You can't point to anything that is self. Yourself. That is not other things. It's not my chest, not my skin, not my hair, fortunately. And so on. So where am I? Just an idea, just a thought. That thought exists simply as an appearance and nothing else. Don't blame me if you go home and say to your significant others, you don't really exist. You're just a thought. Well, you have to be skillful. You have to teach them gently. So what happens when we overcome this view that there is a really, truly existent, inherently existent self? It's called, we stop self-grasping. We stop clutching and grasping and taking ourselves so seriously. this image that we've built up of ourselves, we stop taking it so seriously, and it gives us more room to be able to accommodate new things and to let go of other things about our life. To begin to appreciate what's happening in this very moment. If our whole world is changing moment by moment, each moment is an opportunity to change the way we relate to whatever is appearing. Yeah. Each moment is an opportunity to change the way we relate to whatever is appearing. So instead of getting angry with someone who's appearing in front of you, you can remind yourself, they don't really exist like that. All the unpleasantness that I'm perceiving in what appears as the other person is nothing more than coming from my own mind. And so, if I just change my mind, instead of being angry with them or being irritated by them, if I can just recognize, if I can be more loving and compassionate towards them, then all the anger will disappear, and I'll see them as an object of love and compassion, like the small baby in your arms. And we can do this. We can, but it involves being able to let go of this self that we've built up. The self that demands a particular arrangement of the external world, that feels entitled to this particular arrangement. And then we can begin to use every moment as an opportunity to develop our inner self, to develop our inner mind. Because if we recognize that all the anger is coming from the side of our own mind, it reminds us to become more loving and compassionate. It gives us an opportunity to step back and say, oh, this is just not appropriate. This is a mistake. And if I continue with this mistake, all I'm just going to do is create more problems and suffering for myself and for other people. So, this is what seizing the moment means. It means using every moment of our existence to make our life more meaningful, by using Buddha's teachings to develop our mind, to develop this mind of patience, consideration for others, sense of shame that holds ourselves back for our own particular reasons, consideration for others that holds ourselves back from causing hurt and harm to other people, for consideration about them, and then developing minds of love, affectionate love, that leads into cherishing love, that leads into wishing love. A very powerful mind of wishing love, wishing others to be happy, and being prepared to do whatever it takes to make others happy. These minds, these practices are the real cause of our own happiness. And the thing is, once we start on this journey, it's like we never want to stop. It's as if you had chocolate and it was never disappointing. Yeah. Even normally, chocolate will eventually turn to be a disappointment and make you sick and so on. But there's this magic chocolate that never disappoints, never makes you sick, and the more you have of it, the happier you get. And that magic is just your own mind. Yeah. And so we develop these minds of that hold us back from causing any hurt or harm to anyone else, and instead enabling us to change our mind towards wishing to bring benefit to other people. Simply, that's all we have to do. Decide never to cause harm and use our life to bring benefit to other people. That, if we do that, we will find our own happiness and peace. And the reason we can do it is that we don't exist. Other people don't exist. Nothing really exists. And so we can stop grasping at whatever appears. Oh, this is a nice appearance. I want this to be permanent. Yeah, I want this person, this place, this thing to appear permanently in my mind, in my life, because it's so cool. Nothing is like that. And it's just, it's impermanent. Everything is impermanent, and B, it doesn't really exist other than in your mind. So we can stop all this grasping at things, and as a result, we just naturally let go of things. We let go of the things that stop us finding a meaningful life. We don't stop caring about other people, but like I said, we don't have to have lunch with them every day. And when we create that space in our mind, because we've given up attachment to things either in the past or from yesterday or might happen in the future, what we long for in the future, then it gives us the space to use every moment in the present to be able to change our mind, to find happiness in every moment. Can you do that? Yes. Well, you can understand the teachings and you can understand how to accomplish it, but then you have to put it into practice. You have to put it into practice in your daily life. It's like, when you go to the doctor with a physical problem and he gives you some medicine to take, he says, if you take this medicine, you'll feel better. And so you go to the pharmacy, you go to Boots, get the prescription filled, and you come back and you put the medicine in your medicine cabinet. And if I take that medicine, I'll get better. But you don't take it. It tastes so awful, I'm not taking it. So you don't get better. It's the same with Buddha's teachings. Buddha's teachings is like medicine for the mind. But again, we can have this medicine available to us so easily. But if we don't put the teachings into practice, then nothing's going to change. So, what I think we should do, let me see. One of the things that enables us to become more loving is to rejoice in the happiness of other people. Whenever we see other people being happy, having good conditions, good fortune, we should rejoice. It means, I'm so happy that they have these good conditions, these good qualities, these good conditions. What does that do? This mind of rejoicing overcomes jealousy. You can't both, because when we're jealous, we think, oh, I'm not happy that they're happy. It's complete opposite of what we have to accomplish. You You can't make yourself happy by wishing other people not to be happy. It's not possible. So we can rejoice in other people's good fortune. We can cherish other people just because they exist and because they appear to you. Even difficult people. You have any difficult people in your life? We cherish them. Think their happiness is important. Because this process of cherishing others is what makes you happy. Using your mental energy or finding a way to think their happiness is important to me. So it's like sharing. You know, you mentioned in another class, we go on a hike and your friend forgets to bring their sandwiches with them. You just share your own sandwiches. It means you have less than you'd planned to eat, but that's okay. Because what you've done is you've cherished the other person. You know, it's different from saying, no, you should have brought your own. And keep in mind, we can, the more we place the focus of our attention on other people, realizing this is where my happiness is going to come from, the more we realize their suffering. Instead of people just appearing as like ghosts, you know, we begin to see who they really are. You know, because we become more loving, we're interested in their happiness, interested in their welfare, and we begin to see who they really are. And then we begin to understand their problems and their suffering. And then we begin to think, how can I help them? How can I help them? If we just have that thought, maybe we don't understand how to help them, but we just have that thought, I really wish they wouldn't have to suffer and experience these problems. And maybe we're not going to solve other people's problems completely until we've solved our own, until we've become this great enlightened being. But we can do something, just a thought, I wish you weren't having to suffer. And maybe just having that thought will guide us intuitively to find something that will help them. Even just a bar of chocolate or something might be of some great help. You can remember whenever you're experiencing problems, difficulties, these problems and difficulties don't exist from the side of the object. Yeah. When your car breaks down on the motorway, it's the car's problem. Your problem is, how do I keep a happy mind when my car breaks down? And you can remember when you have what appears as a problem, when the car has its problem, there's lots of other people having the same problem. When your body's breaking down, that's your body's problem. Your problem is, how do I keep a happy mind when my body's breaking down? And countless other people have the same problem, and often very worse, much worse. So you can have not just a realization, I can just relax even though my body's breaking down, but we can have compassion for other people who are experiencing suffering because they have the same physical problem. Be willing to take risks in order to bring about changes in yourself and others. Learn about the nature of everything, which is emptiness, which you're going to meditate on in a moment. learn about emptiness, and learn how your own mind is creating your own world, moment by moment. Not just in the present, but it's creating your future potential. We engage in hurtful actions, we create the potential to experience suffering in the future. We engage in beneficial actions, brings happiness to other people, we create the cause to experience happiness and good fortune in the future. So, and we need to think about our future. As I said earlier, all we know that's certain is we're going to die. But we don't know when. Could be today. What would happen if we were to die today? What would our next day be like? What would our next life be like? It's very much dependent upon the quality of the mind that we're dying with. So, this is why it's important to seize every moment of opportunity, because we don't know how many moments we will have in this, to have this opportunity. Once we die, we may not get the same opportunity to improve our mind for a very long time, for many lifetimes. So seize this lifetime while you have it, which means seizing every moment of this lifetime. And then take what appears as adverse conditions, difficult conditions, and transform them. There's a great story about, I mentioned the great Indian scholar Atisha, who reintroduced Buddhism into Tibet in the early 11th century. And when he came from India, he brought with him his cook. And his cook was, cook had received many teachings because he'd been with Atisha for so long. But he was so irritable and irritating. And he was constantly criticizing the Tibetans and humiliating them, telling them their cooking was so horrible and tasteless and so on. And he would also humiliate Atisha, be sarcastic and, oh, great teacher, you know, you're a real Buddhist, and so on. And so the Tibetans one day, they went to him and he said, to Atisha, and he said, you know, this man is so terrible, please, just upsetting everybody, and we see him being humiliating to you and criticizing you. Please get rid of him, send him back to India and we'll get you a nice Tibetan teacher. And Atisha turned to him and said, well, you Tibetans, you just praise me all the time. He's the only one who helps me to practice patience. I need him. For me, he is very precious. Because if between now and when the end of this life, I'm going to have to face many difficult people, many difficult problems. And I need to be able to practice patience so I can keep a happy mind no matter what is happening externally. So he's helping me to train. So if you have a difficult person in your life, treasure them because they're very precious for you. They're helping you to practice patience. And patience is actually a wonderful... Buddha said patience is the best practice. If we're patient, many of the other practices will just fall into our lap. You know, when we're angry, all our wisdom flies out the window. And we make mistakes, we make even more mistakes. But if we're patient, keeping a happy mind no matter what, then we can find solutions to all these difficulties and problems, if a solution can be found. If there's no solution, there's no point in getting upset. We can just keep a happy mind anyway. So, I said we should learn about emptiness, so we're going to meditate on emptiness. So we're going to meditate on the emptiness of ourself. And once we understand that, we can apply the same thinking, the same logic to all other phenomena. So sitting in good meditation posture, again, just watch the rhythm of your breathing for a few moments. And then bring to mind an image of who you are. And this image will be something to do with your physical form, but also your relationships, your history, your relationships with other people, your relationships with places, your relationship with things you enjoy, your relationship with inanimate objects. And the qualities that you feel that you have acquired, the skills, the understandings that you've accumulated. And all of these go in to make up this person that you think you are, the person you grasp at, whose welfare you try to promote, whose suffering you try to avoid. So just spend a few more moments trying to develop this image of who you are, the person that lies behind your name. This image of yourself appears most readily when you have an extreme of emotion, like great fear. Imagine you're falling from a cliff. This is you who is going to be crushed on the rocks below. Or you hear really good news, and you're so excited, elated. This is you who's expecting this great thing to happen. So if you have a clear image of yourself that you normally see, if you exist in that way, we should be able to find it. First, we identify where we should look. We should look within the body, within your body, or within your mind, or a self that exists separately from these two, a self that exists separate from your body and mind. So we can begin with the body. it's very easy to see that there's no single part of your body that is yourself. Your skin is not yourself, your eyes are not yourself, your chest, your limbs, your inner organs, none of these things is yourself. Some people would argue that it's the way that all these parts are put together, the collection of the parts of your body that is yourself. But a collection of the parts of your body is simply a collection of non-selves. A collection of non-selves cannot suddenly become a self. And also the word collection is just based upon a number of different things. If you take away all the parts of your body, there is no one remaining. There's no collection that remains. So you cannot say that either a single part of your body is yourself, and the collection of parts of your body, that cannot be yourself either. So you cannot say that your body is yourself. And also we use the phrase, my body, implying that me is the owner and body is the thing that is owned. And they can never be the same. The owner and the thing that is owned can never be the same. So as soon as you say my body, you're implying that your body is not yourself. So now we can look within the mind. But we say the same thing about our mind. I made up my mind, I changed my mind. So again, we cannot say that yourself is your mind. So what we found in this search is it's not your body. Yourself is not your body. Yourself is not your mind. The only place left to search for your true self is something that exists separate from body and mind. But no matter how hard you try, you cannot think of yourself without either some aspect of your body or your mind appearing at the same time. If your self could exist separately from body and mind, you would be able to say, my body and mind are sitting in Liverpool, but myself is on a beach in the Bahamas, which doesn't make sense. So we come to realize that yourself does not exist separately from body and mind, but it is not either of those two. It's not body, it's not mind, it's not separate from body and mind. And we searched every possible location. All we have found is that the self you normally see cannot be found. It is unfindable. So now if you turn your mind back to the image of yourself that you created at the beginning. And you have discovered that that self is unfindable. If it existed, we could have found it. But because we cannot find it, because it is unfindable, we have to conclude and realize it doesn't exist. That separately existing self, independently existing of everything else, somehow unchanging, that self we normally see does not exist. And when we come to that realization, that image of ourself just begins to dissolve away. It dissolves into empty space until it's as if all that's left is like a boundary of light, an outline of light, and then even the outline dissolves into space. And now, where there previously was a solidly, truly existing self, now there is only empty space. But this empty space has real meaning, because this is the only true nature of you. This is the emptiness of you. Whatever your name is, this is the ultimate nature of you. And this ultimate nature, this emptiness, is the mere lack of yourself existing from its own side. The mere lack of yourself existing inherently or in and of itself. And the word mere is important because it means that lack and nothing else. And so we come to the conclusion that the self that you normally see does not exist. That inherently existing self, that truly existing self, that self existing from its own side, that you normally see, does not exist. But yet, just as in a dream, a self appears to your mind, just like a dream. And so you can ask yourself, who is meditating on the emptiness of myself? Who or what is meditating on the emptiness of myself? And you may realize it simply in name, whatever your name is. And simply the conceptual thought, that appearance of you and nothing else. Mere name, mere appearance, and nothing else. And so you come to the realization that the self that you normally see does not exist. Whereas name and simply appearance does exist, because it's appearing to your mind. So plant that realization deeply into your mind. So when you arise from meditation, you can see, you can think, not only the self I normally see, but all other phenomena that I normally see do not exist, other than mere name and mere appearance. So now you can begin to relax your concentration, and when you're ready, you can arise from meditation. So, as I said earlier, and as we come to realize, we're not saying things do not exist. But the real issue is, how do they exist? If they existed from their own side, we would be able to find them. When we search, we can't find them. So this non-findability leads us to realize the things we normally see do not exist. So what exists is just appearance, just like a dream. When you're having a dream, you wake up in the morning, you realize, oh, the things that appeared in my dream, they weren't really there, they were just appearances to my dreaming mind. So I don't need to worry about the chainsaw murderer who appeared in my dream. Or I don't need to go and search for the beautiful person who appeared in my dream, because they were just images appearing in my dream. It's the same when we're so-called awake. The word Buddha means awakened one, someone who is awakened from the sleep of ignorance, of self-grasping. So that's, you see how we become this permanently peaceful, happy, compassionate person who is free from the ignorance of self-grasping by coming to realize the things I normally see do not exist. It's just like a dream. But these things function. The things that appear in my mind, if you know that when you go outside, and you find your car, or you think you find your car. There's no car there, it's just there's bodywork, there's engine, etc., but there is no car. We constantly doing this thing called imputing. We impute the word car upon the appearance of the bodywork. But that's what we impute everything. We impute self on the basis of our body and mind and so on. But that's what we do. We constantly imputing these things. But these imputations are just aspects of our own mind, but they function. You know, we all know what a giraffe is, right? Yeah, and we can tell the difference between a giraffe and a lion. It's quite happy, but useful to be able to do that. And so in the same way, we have names for things, and we can function, we can operate in the world, we can develop minds of love and compassion, etc., on the basis of just using names, not really grasping at anything in particular that lies behind these names, but using every moment to be able to develop minds of love and compassion, even for giraffes and lions. Yeah. So next time you go to Chester Zoo, have compassion for the lions, and yeah, because they're suffering too, even though they don't really exist. So, well, there we have it. We can understand how if we clog up our mind with attachments, we'll be missing out opportunities to really develop our mind that has great meaning and enables us to make a great contribution to the amount of happiness that exists in our world. You know, everybody needs happiness. If you think of all the conflict and destruction that goes on in our world, and think about, you know, I lived in Florida for a year, and I lived in North Carolina for 20 odd years, and they're suffering from this, from Helene. Helene's causing a lot of problems. This hurricane that is destroying people's homes and killing people and so on and so forth. So, yeah, so we can use every moment of every situation we find ourselves in to develop meaningful minds of love and compassion that will never disappoint you. The more we have those minds, the happier, more peaceful we become. Everything else, grasping at everything else, that's our real problem. Thinking that things really exist in the way in which we think about them, and they don't. So the great summer vacation place that you always want to be in, that you grasp at all the time, you think, oh, I wish I was there. And so you're not doing your homework because you're so busy thinking about this place that you really enjoyed some years ago, and the beautiful sunsets and etc., and the companionship and so on. You lost the moment. Because that place doesn't exist other than in your thoughts. Yeah. Okay. Does anyone have any questions you would like to ask? Everyone starts looking at the floor when I say that. No, you're happy. Good.
Do you know, you said the mind obviously doesn't exist. If you could draw the mind, how would you illustrate that?
Oh, I wouldn't even attempt it. What would be the point of drawing something that doesn't exist.
So space, essentially.
Yeah, yeah. It's you just essentially your mind is just the objects that appear, and your interpretation and the meaning of these objects. So people appear, but if we understand that that's all they are, they're not the frightening, terrible people that we might think. We get an opportunity to use our mind in relation to those appearances, to do something creative with our mind, to develop love for those people who appear, whoever appears. Yeah. And we understand how that would be possible as long as we're not grasping at one particular type of person. Yeah. So it can be anyone of any colour, shape, size, or whatever. It can be non-human beings that are appearing as well. And we still try to have this mind of love and compassion towards them. So if you want to draw your mind, just draw everybody that appears to you, because there's no mind without an object, and there's no object without a mind. Ooh.
I'm trying to reconcile the issues around attachment.
Yes.
And how that attachments can almost be a negative thing in terms of holding you back, with my understanding of attachment theories and the work that I do with children.
Mm-hmm.
Now, understanding attachments and what it means to children is so important.
Yeah.
In order to understand their trauma
Yeah.
and emotional development. Now, if I adopt a position where I'm thinking, well, the attachments aren't important or aren't real, then I don't see how I could do my job in terms of helping children who've been through trauma.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it is around attachments and the formed attachments.
Yeah. We can understand other people's attachments. We don't necessarily need to develop attachment to others. And what I would suggest is that the extent to which we attach to others inhibits our ability to use our understanding and our wisdom to be able to help them.
I can see that, how that, I
Yeah.
think I can.
We're dealing with their attachments to their trauma, essentially. If we're acting out of, if we have attachment for individuals, then there'll be some individuals that we kind of don't give enough attention to. And when they appear, we're not so interested because we're more interested in others. And it's this attachment that's creating a kind of partiality and a bias in our life, in our work.
I can see that I have to separate two things, personal to the,
Yeah.
to the others.
Yes. So what I'm saying is the attachment will inhibit us operating out of a mind of love and compassion. And it's the love and compassion that will be most helpful. Yeah. Yes.
You talk about people that don't exist in that sense.
Yes.
In the literal sense, but they don't exist. I'm intrigued to know about where people go once they pass over. I lost my wife to cancer 4 years ago, so she kind of doesn't exist anymore. You said we never did, because in their physical form. Where is she at the moment then? Where is my wife living now? now that she's passed on.
Yeah, what happens at the time of our death is that our mind that we have in this life at the moment of death leaves this body, goes into an intermediate state, and then takes a rebirth. So enters into the union of the next parents at the point of conception, and then grows as a fetus and then a baby and so on.
They become another human then.
And not necessarily human either, and just another living being. And it's dependent upon the qualities of mind that we die with. If we die with a heavy, negative, angry mind, then it is likely that we will take what's called a lower rebirth into more suffering. Yeah. If
A beautiful person and a very warm person.
she's more likely then to be in a fortunate state in this life, in her next life. Yeah. So if we die with a loving, compassionate mind, then we're really, that's the mind we're taking with us into our next life. And so we're giving ourselves the best opportunity to have a fortunate life, next life. So that's why it's important to start now, today, because we don't know how many days we have left. And, you know, if we've had most of us have had bad mental habits like anger and jealousy and desires, attachment and so on. And when we've acted upon those minds, they just create problems, both for ourselves and for other people. So if we think, oh, we get news, well, you're likely to die in 4 weeks' time, and you think, oh gosh, I better get on with it, improving my mind. There's not a lot you can do in 4 weeks. So if you start now, maybe you have 30 years to improve your mind, and you can do great things in those 30 years. To ensure that you die with a happy mind. And so when you're dying, you're looking back and say, oh, I have no regrets. I lived a meaningful life. But if we spent our life searching for happiness outside our mind, we've essentially setting ourselves up for failure and disappointment. Yeah. Okay. Shall we finish?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I hope to see you all again soon.